Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our NXT review. Gotta say, very fun episode of NXT, some quality matches, some amazing stuff announced for next weekend, even 2 weeks from now, so we can see that we're still really snowballing ultimately towards TakeOver Dallas. So I feel like this episode of NXT really accomplished a lot, and even contained within itself was just a solid hour of NXT programming. Ashton, what did you think of this episode tonight?
Yeah, it was all right. It's one of those things where when you watch Lucha Underground, you kind of get your expectations raised by a pretty significant amount. And typically NXT doesn't necessarily live up to those expectations, but it doesn't, it also doesn't disappoint. It's not like, oh God, this is so bad, I wish that we could just watch Lucha again. And even though obviously I wish we could just watch Lucha every day of the week, it's still a solid show. It still keeps me content, and it still is nowhere even close to the level of horrible that Raw is usually.
That is certainly true. With that said, let's keep the ball rolling with our first segment, Heat of the Night. I've got no heats of the night, no nitpicks. Again, this is a solid hour of wrestling that was productive to boot. No complaints here. What about you, Ashton?
Yeah, same here. It's, they're the biggest issue that I would have is that they're actually trying to build Eva Marie to do something, but at this point, I think that they know what they have in her, and I don't think that they're going to try and book her beyond what she should be able to do.
I'm inclined to agree. With that said, let us get right into our NXT review, and we open up with American Alpha versus Blake and Murphy. And I gotta say, guys, for me, it's so hard for me personally to be critical of an American Alpha match, because whenever I see them, I get the biggest smile on my face. I love their amateur wrestling acumen, obviously, and good God, and this is the biggest compliment I can afford this man, I don't think I could ever be as entertained by a body part being worked over as I am when Chad Gable is working over an arm. Like, how many arm drags does this guy know? It's ridiculous how dedicated he is to working over a body part in a match. I love American Alpha's chemistry and psychology as a team because, when Chad Gable's working over an arm, then Jordan will come in and he'll continue on that work and so on and so forth. I mean, they're just great. They're really clicking together. Everything's really coming together. They are, I think, one of the best tag teams in WWE today, but that's not to discount Blake and Murphy either. They're exceptional as always. Buddy Murphy at one point in this match, because him and Blake disoriented Chad Gable a little bit. They kind of double teamed a little bit, and Buddy Murphy gets a lariat that just looked amazing on Chad Gable in this match. And you and I have said it before. Buddy Murphy has got that look and that kind of repertoire where he really is kind of like the Arn Anderson or the enforcer of his team. Yep. And I think he could go so far in singles, and just seeing that lariat just really brought it all back to the forefront for me, just how good he is. They did a great job isolating Gable and really picking him apart, those tag team fundamentals. And then, of course, that all kind of broke down when Jordan finally got the hot tag. I know for some people, Jordan's hot tag is already starting to wane a little bit, but for me, and obviously I'm heavily biased, I still find it as fun as always. The highlight of the match for me was the belly-to-belly that he got on Buddy Murphy when Buddy Murphy tried coming off the top rope. The elevation he got on that and the way Buddy Murphy sold that was exceptional.
Yeah.
So American Alpha ultimately gets the win after Wesley Blake eats the pin with the double team maneuver of American Alpha. And really, I just want to close my portion of the review here saying I would totally, and I think you and I have felt this way for a while, Blurfexa to me can completely be classified in the same realm as Enzo and Cass in terms of just call them up already. I feel like they are such an amazing unit, and I think they've given all they can to the NXT tag team scene. Get them to the main roster where they can feel like new again, because they're just too wonderful. And I love them here in NXT, don't get me wrong. I just don't see what else they could do that would really be productive at this point. But man, was this a fun opener. What did you think?
Yeah, this was a fun opener. I think just what I noticed, I thought that it was cool that Gable got more of an offensive presence in this match, because normally when Gable's in there, like, he'll get his little flurry at the beginning, but then it will not take long before he is stifled by the opposing team, and they just kind of work him over for a few minutes before he finally manages to get the hot tag to Jordan. In this match, it felt like he was more on the offensive, and it didn't take as long between him losing control of the match and him tagging Jordan in as it usually does.
I agree. They were very dominant in the early part of this match. You know, it's funny to me because had you tuned in a little later, you would have thought that Blake and Murphy were the babyface team struggling to get that hot tag, just with how in control Chad Gable was of the arm. And it doesn't help matters that Buddy Murphy and Wesley Blake, you know, their screams of like being in those holds, you know, having their arms controlled and contorted that way really made it seem like, man, is this a struggling team here? So I really do appreciate that even though American Alpha are baby faces, they do have that streak of dominance about them. Yeah, I just really enjoyed this match, and not really more I can say about it. So is there anything you want to add?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head.
All right, let's move on. We get our first kind of backstage segment. William Regal's decision on the NXT Championship number one contender. We get a replay of the footage, you know, the latest controversy. And then Regal, you know, this segment was very succinct. He gets right to it, but it's also very productive. We learned that in 2 weeks, Sami Zayn will be taking on Samoa Joe in a 2-out-of-3 falls match to definitively determine a number one contender. I like this, actually. I think this is the most logical route given the nature of the controversies we've had. And I just really have no complaints about that. And then Regal teased that a new addition to NXT will debut next week. All the paperwork's been taken care of. So really, again, this all just feels like it's all snowballing towards Dallas. We're getting so much done. We're really trying to accomplish a lot week to week. And I'm curious how this whole debuting talent is going to go over and what's going to happen. And that 2-out-of-3 falls match in 2 weeks, again, just laying that kind of groundwork so far ahead of the game, should be a phenomenal main event on NXT TV.
Yeah, that's going to be really good.
Yeah, so moving on from that, we get an Elias Sampson video package. Nothing really new to say here. It's just been the stuff that we've seen before. After that, though, we get Apollo Crews versus Christopher Gerard. And I have to say, like, my first thought seeing Christopher Gerard, I want to see him tag up with Danny Burch. I think you put those two together, and it could be an interesting addition to the tag team division. I don't know, just seeing him work and his physicality and the uppercuts.
I think if he's going to tag with anyone, I think the perfect tag team partner for him would be Champa.
You know what? That's possible, but Ciampa and Gargano are already so good, though, because I thought about Ciampa, and I'm like, no, because why do that when you already have Johnny Gargano? But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. That was the first thought that came into my mind. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Gerard is more of a fit with Ciampa than Gargano. Like, Gargano's great and all, but I think Gargano has more, like, babyface appeal, whereas Ciampa and Gerard both fit really well as heels.
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny you say that, because I have a little something I want to say about that later on. But I can certainly see your point. I think with Gerard, though, as far as his debut goes, I liked it. I like the physicality. The aggression's got some nice uppercuts. I think my only complaint about this match, was just a minute criticism, would be I felt like the wrestles he was working on Apollo Crews, for me personally, I think it went on a little too long.
I agree with that. I was actually going to say that too, so I'm glad you brought it up.
But ultimately, you know, Apollo does get the win with his spinning sit-out powerbomb, which has really grown on me, actually. And I have to also say, just as a little minor thing, I liked how Christopher Gerard, even when he was caught in that move, he tried fighting out of it by punching Apollo Crews in the head, but Apollo just wasn't going to be denied. So, solid match.
I can't tell if you're trying to kayfabe me or if you actually don't know.
What do you mean?
Christopher Gerard is Biff Busick, dude.
See, I had a feeling. Yeah, but I was waiting for you to say something, and when you didn't say anything, I'm like, okay, I must be wrong, because I thought about it.
I played along because I thought you were kayfabing me, but I guess not.
No, dude, like, at first I thought, wait, you know what, seeing Christopher Gerard again, is that Biff Busick? Because I'm just like, they look oddly familiar.
Yeah, that's Busick. That's why I think he should team with Ciampa.
Well, now it all makes sense, and the only reason I'm like, no, that can't be music, because I'm just gonna count on Ashton to say something. That's so funny. So yeah,
Well, it ended up working out that way. It just took a little longer than you originally expected.
You know what? Now it all makes sense though, because commentary really seemed to go out of their way though to put Gerard over as well.
Right.
So now that really makes
he's
sense.
Super freaking legit. He's really good. Like that was so weird because I'm just like sitting here listening to you talk about Gerard like he's this new superstar, and I'm just like, okay, he's going full kayfabe. He's trying to pretend like he doesn't know what's going on here, and then it's like, oh no, wait, you actually didn't know what was going on. You really weren't sure.
No, yeah, I'm glad we reconciled that, and now I'm in like, because now it all makes sense. Commentary going out of their way to really put him over, and just how much offense he got on Apollo Crews, which I'll be honest, I was a little surprised, but now it all makes sense. Yeah, I mean, my one criticism still stands. I liked Biff Music's debut, and I'm gonna keep calling him Christopher Gerard because I got so used to it. But just working the rest holds a little too long. But other than that, really solid debut, and I can't wait to see more of him. And whatever he does, whether it's getting a tag team or just go on his own, it's just great that NXT has another worthwhile addition, I should say. So great.
I think Gerard and Ciampa would be really good first challengers for Jordan and Gable when they first win the titles.
That is not a match I would complain about at all.
Well, yeah, and because also, I mean, it's worth noting how great the match was between Jordan and Gable and Ciampa and Gargano. You just swap out Gargano for Gerard so that we can kind of get that pure heel heat on that side of the match, and I think it would be a step up even.
Yeah, I completely agree. So I'm curious to see what Biff Busick can do going forward. And again, Tommaso Ciampa will be a topic of conversation in just a few moments.
Yeah.
But moving on, we get Baymella backstage. This is more or less just a short segment that saw Bayley and Carmella reaffirming friendship and showing respect for the competitive match they had. They promised to take care of Eva and Nia Jax. Alex Reyes inquires to Bayley about Asuka. And I felt like Bayley really did well conveying her discomfort at the threat that Asuka poses, because she says, yeah.
So awkward. And really, I mean, you like to use the phrase anxious aardvark. That's exactly what Bayley was in this interview.
Not only did she convey that beautifully, Ashton, what I really liked, and I don't know if you caught this, but I appreciated it. I liked how the camera, when Bayley's giving her thoughts about Asuka, pans to her championship and just focuses on the title.
Yeah.
I like that because it shows that that's what it's all about. Yeah. And you know that sooner or later, Bayley and Asuka are going to cross paths over the NXT Women's Championship. I thought that was such a great touch.
But also, I do think we shouldn't be just kind of skipping past this, because it's also worth noting that Bayley did a really good job here of giving Carmella credit. But you can tell Carmella is still salty because she straight up said, like, I might have lost this time, but I'm not done gunning for that title.
Yes, Carmella just letting Bayley know, hey, I'm not done yet, and I don't blame her. She didn't really get beat. It wasn't like a Bayley to belly kind of finish where she gets pinned definitively for the 3 count. She got caught. She was part of an exchange with Bayley. She made one mistake.
Same deal as Puma Pentagon.
Exactly. So to me, Carmella has a legitimate gripe. In fact, I'm glad you brought that up, because in the main event, I thought, well, is Carmella going to try something? But that wasn't the case, which we'll get to later. But it's just nice that Carmella is still asserting herself and staying in the fold. So I really appreciated that. But moving on, we get just a recap of the street assault, like in the parking lot, of Enzo Amore by the Revival. I thought that was well shot. I know a lot of people seem to appreciate that it looked like legitimate security footage, so really cool stuff. So we know that whole thing between the Revival and Enzo and Cass is continuing. After that, Tommaso Ciampa versus Bull Dempsey. Now, the thing about this match, and I was going to field a question to you, Ashley, but you already kind of answered it in the Christopher Gerard versus Apollo Crews matchup. I was going to ask how you felt about Ciampa appearing to work heel in this match.
Yeah, dude, I think he's a really convincing heel.
I just like that he was, no nonsense. He seemed annoyed with Bull Dempsey.
I mean, if that's honestly in that case specifically, I was channeling Tommaso Ciampa. He was my spirit animal during this match because.
Yeah, I was just about to say Ciampa certainly wasn't alone. If he was a heel, so was I, because I was just like, crap.
Yeah, because frickin' Corey Graves insists on getting behind Bull Dempsey, even though Bull is clearly a face now, and it makes no sense to me.
And you know what? We've seen Ciampa's work, and we've seen him cut promos. I mean, before he came to NXT, he was known as the Sicilian Psychopath. So to me, I'm not really too worried about it, but I did make a mention here in my notes that we already have phenomenal heels like Samoa Joe and Baron Corbin. So I think Ciampa is going to have to stand out a little bit, but I don't think he's going to have a problem doing that with just the quality of worker that he is. So, yeah, I mean, he definitely seems like he's going to be working heel going forward. He was really relentless in targeting Dempsey's arm in this match, and he beat Bull Dempsey with that arm bar submission that he beat Danny Burch with. So I think that's Ciampa's new definitive kind of finisher, which I like, especially if he is going heel. It seems like the perfect kind of finisher. And yeah, he mocked Bull's jumping jacks post-match, and Tom Phillips seemed to frown upon that. So that just really clicked for me. Yeah, they're really going with this. So I guess now you can say your three top heels, because I could see Ciampa getting there: Joe, Corbin, Ciampa. So not a bad lineup to me.
Yeah. They're WWE, in NXT is slowly starting to become PWG Volume 2.
Yeah. Not a bad place.
People go to PWG to hone their craft and to get really good at performing in front of a really, really active audience. And then they graduate to NXT, and it's a bigger audience, and they are transitioning from that PWG style to the WWE style.
Yes. And you can see that Ciampa has made that transition. I'm really hoping that he gets in the NXT title picture, maybe even by late 2016, but I'm hoping this year is a good year for him to really raise his stock, his profile, and get more involved in NXT, get more worthwhile programs, but that remains to be seen. I do think it'll happen, though. He's a quality talent. But moving on, we get Samoa Joe giving his thoughts about William Regal's announcement, and I love Joe here. He is so promos.
Good. Here's the thing, John. I never really felt awestruck by Samoa Joe's TNA promos, but every single time he cuts a promo in NXT, I come away like, wow, he's so good at cutting promos. Like, where did this come from?
Dude, he commands my attention every time he speaks on NXT.
It's weird though, because in TNA, I always felt like he was more like the silent destroyer type, but now he's become a really, really good heel talker.
I don't know how long he was in promo class or whatever, but I have to assume he took some at the Performance Center. It's done him wonders. Really great stuff. I love especially the line about how Regal's announcement is a shame for Sami Zayn because 2 out of 3 falls means he will have to suffer twice as much through the fact that he should already know, and that is that Joe will be the next NXT champion. I love that. Just so good using the match type as a way to convey misfortune for the opposition. I mean, Joe is just so focused. And I love the bitterness and the chip he carries on his shoulder, saying, that he's got to jump through hoops to get what already should be his. NXT was hot. It was hot when he came in. He made it hot. And he just feels like he deserves to be NXT champion, and he doesn't get why he has to go through all this. But really, Sami Zayn is the ultimate loser here in Joe's eyes. So Joe is freaking phenomenal. One of my favorite heels on NXT. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. This is the biggest compliment I could give the guy. I didn't think anybody could fill Kevin Owens' shoes in the work he did in NXT, but Joe's doing a damn fine job just being that heel. Then after that, we get Sami Zayn's thoughts about it. And by contrast, I liked what he had to say as well. He said, him being sidelined has given him nothing but time to prepare for this moment, and that he is not a stranger to 2 out of 3 falls matches, which is great. I like that Sami recalled his experience personally. And then I loved what he ended with, because he said he doesn't care if it's 2 out of 3, 3 out of 5, or 4 out of 7. He's going to win this match, and ultimately he's going to go on to achieve his goal of being a 2-time NXT champion. So Sami feeling confident, he's not cowering, to Samoa Joe. And I really like both guys' promo here. I can't wait for their match in 2 weeks.
Yeah. This match is going to be insane. Who do you think is going to win this match, dude? Because I have this weird feeling that they are going to let Joe beat Sami, which is so different than what I would have thought if you would have asked me like 2 or 3 weeks ago, because Sami, it just kind of seems like he was getting everything handed to him, but I really do feel like they're going to have Joe beat him.
I have to agree with you, if for no other reason, because Finn Balor's still champion, and Finn Balor's still babyface as far as we know. And I think, with the way London went down, where, again, I have to agree with Joe, it really seemed like Finn just survive Joe. You know, it was kind of a war of attrition, and Finn was able to last just a little bit longer. And I think they really have been building towards the idea, well, let's see these guys go at it again. Can Finn do it twice? And, you know, so I definitely have to think that Joe is going to go over here. But I just can't wait. I think this will be a phenomenal matchup, potentially a match of the year candidate, depending on how much time it gets and just how everything's done.
It's weird, though, dude, because if you think about it, if Joe does win and he goes after Finn and suppose that they have a match at Dallas, who would win that? Because, like, it would make, as far as booking sense, Joe would have to win. But then there's also the rumor that Joe is getting called up to the main roster right at WrestleMania or right after it on the Raw after.
Yeah, you know, it is difficult. And to me, Ashton, I'd almost have to say that Finn would retain, but not even for any of the reasons you mentioned, even though they're all legitimately good points. I just think Finn is so happy being NXT champion. He wants to build NXT. Like, I'm not saying Joe doesn't deserve it, because you've even heard me say, like, I want Joe to be NXT champion. But I think in NXT's mind, whoever Finn drops the belt to, like, it's going to be a really big deal. Like, I don't know what they're planning, what the end game is for the title reign, but I just don't think Joe is meant to be the one. I think he more than deserves
you know
it,
what, dude?
but
I almost have to wonder if they're going to do, like, a Japanese takeover and have, like, one pay-per-view where Asuka and Shinsuke Nakamura both win their respective world titles in the same night.
That could be. That could be. You know, I think anything is possible. NXT has gotten such appeal. It would not surprise me in the slightest to see them do takeover.
Because I feel like if anyone is going to take the title off Balor, it needs to, and you know what? I wish that I could be like, oh, Baron Corbin makes the most sense, because I feel like he would have made the most sense right now. Like, if they would have been building him up right now to take the title from Finn at Dallas, that would have been perfect. But I feel like they're missing their opportunity to strike while the iron's hot. And because of that, I'm not going to say Baron Corbin. So really, it needs to be somebody that you can build up as a destroyer pretty much immediately. Like, I feel like Finn has been through the roster at this point, and he's beaten everyone. So you can't just, like, randomly be like, oh, well, we're going to build this guy that Finn's already beaten up to beat him, because then it's like it cheapens the deal, you know?
I completely agree. I mean, to me, as much as I love Joe, and yeah, me and Sammy are cool too, you know, I'm a fan of his, I feel like this really should have been Corbin's program. And, you know, that wasn't even me just being like, you know, okay, whatever. Like, I just believe they did pass the ball and they missed a chance with Corbin. So I completely agree with you there. But that's why, thank goodness, for a guy like Shinsuke Nakamura coming in, because he's fresh, he's new, that program would instantly be compelling. Instantly, for everybody. And I could immediately buy it. It wouldn't even take that much convincing. I mean, the guy's got a name and a brand, and NXT knows that. The moment he guns for Finn Balor, that is the most legitimate threat you could possibly put across from Finn Balor. So yeah, maybe Shinsuke Nakamura will be the one, because it's starting to get to the point now, dude, where I'm wondering who the hell is going to end Finn's title reign, because nobody really, it's not that nobody seems convincing, it's just that Finn seems so dominant as NXT champion. Like, who's going to knock him off that perch? And he's still undefeated as the Demon, let's not forget.
Yeah, that's a big one too. Like, I feel like the WWE has almost actually managed to write themselves into a corner at this point, where no matter who beats Finn for the title, it's going to feel cheap.
I think the only way they can get themselves out of that corner, and this is just my opinion, I would have Finn turn at some point during his reign, like when you know it was going to come to an end.
That's really, that is, yeah, you're completely right. They need to have him turn so that whoever beats him can be babyface.
Exactly. Really glad we had this discussion, but moving on, it's our main event. We get Baymella versus Eva Marie and Nia Jax. You want to know what I really liked about this match, Ashton? And I love that they did this. Notice how whenever Eva Marie was the legal woman in this match, Baymella was in control. And yet whenever Nia Jax was legal, her team dominated.
Yep.
I'm love so that.
Dude, we have like the exact same notes, because I even have in my notes that Nia does pretty well, but anytime Eva gets tagged in, it gives Baymella control of the match.
Exactly. It's a perfect way to illustrate not only their relationship as it relates to Eva Marie and Nia Jax, but just the disparity in their abilities, you know, which I think makes the fact that Eva Marie is this heel that is just so loathed, you know, for all the wrong reasons some might argue, all the better for NXT because I think they've really learned how to use her because, you know, in the closing moments, you know, Bayley hits her finisher on Eva Marie. She's got the 3 count, but Nia Jax pulls her out. Then Carmella gets her submission on Eva Marie. You know Eva's like bound to tap. Nia Jax breaks it up again. Then Nia, sick of all this shit, literally drags Eva Marie to her corner, gets her to tag Nia in. Nia lays Carmella out with 3 leg drops, and as she's going for the 3rd off the ropes, Eva steals the tag, comes in, and gets the winning pin. If I had any nitpick about this match, and again, I guess this is just a personal preference, I wish Nia would have looked a bit more miffed that Eva stole the tag. But again, that's a very minute.
Well, what if it was intentional, though? Like, what if Nia and Eva have some kind of a deal where Nia's entire purpose is to make Eva look better?
And you know what, Ashton? I thought that because commentary had a very interesting note, and I think this was Tom Phillips that said this. Eva Marie being like a WWE diva and having that exposure, and we already saw kayfabe why she has the backing of corporate and she's on Total Divas. Tom Phillips noted, well, that's great for Nia Jax because that's exposure for Nia Jax.
Yeah.
And she gets to, you know, run with that. So I guess in exchange for that, it's like, okay, Nia, you gotta make me look good. You gotta make me look, you know, legitimate. So she gets the winning pin. And the only really final note I have about this match in general, Baymella had a point where Eva Marie was in their corner and Carmella and Bayley both kind of danced a little bit. I thought that was absolutely adorable. So this is a fun
moonwalks, yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
Bayley can do a moonwalk. It's adorable.
I know, it's wonderful. Anything you want to add about this match?
No, it was one of those things where this match was really all about the psychology and the story being told rather than OMG 5-star classic.
Exactly. I completely agree with you. And I think they told that story very well.
Yeah.
And we punctuate this story being this episode of NXT with a segment between William Regal and Finn Balor. I really like the motivation behind this segment because William Regal pretty much explains to Finn that his reign as NXT champion is close to like eclipsing the all-time record. And there's this big debate among the NXT universe, who is the best NXT champion of all time. And Finn's like, well, you know, I'm flattered, but I don't really know where you're going with this. Where I'm going with this, Finn, is one of the greatest matches in NXT history because next week it is going to be you versus the man that gravity forgot, Neville. Finn says he's looking forward to it. And I just really appreciate, that being a long-reigning NXT champion is this thing not only worth celebrating, but kind of commemorating and, you know, challenging. It's a big deal. So I really appreciated the motivation behind this segment. I think it does great things for the NXT championship, you know, really raises that prestige. And we get an amazing match out of it next week. Again, laying that groundwork for future television. I love it. Good stuff.
Yeah, I think we've only ever seen this match one time in WWE before, and that was the number 1 contender match, I think.
Yes, you're right.
Back at, what was it? NXT TakeOver Rival, maybe? Or was it before that?
I feel like it was Rival, but I'm not sure.
It was either Rival or Unstoppable. I don't remember, though.
I feel like it was Rival, but I could be wrong. I just felt like this is a great segment to end the show, as like knowing that match, like that's the last thing viewers hear. That's instantly going to hook them in and bring them back for next week. So great stuff.
That's definitely an appeal for coming back.
Definitely. With that said, let's get into our next segment. High spots and low shots. My low shot this week is Bayley, because even though she didn't eat the pin in her match, she still lost the match. And you could definitely tell from that interview tonight, she is very discomforted by the idea that Asuka's going to be gunning for her NXT Women's Championship. I think Bayley's got challengers from all corners coming at her. It's just a very rough time for the hugger and NXT Women's Champion. So Bayley's my low shot.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little bit for the below the belt shot here, and I'm gonna say my low shot is Bull Dempsey because he lost and then got fired.
Wow. That's like a Johnny scumbag move almost. I like it.
I know that it's a horrible thing to say, but in all reality, from what I understand, he actually did ask for his release. I don't think he got fired necessarily. But regardless, I was never a fan of his in the first place.
Yeah, me either.
So, it's one of those things where I can be like, Bull Dempsey's gone. No complaints here. But, I mean, in all reality, I do hope for the best for the guy. Like, obviously, it would be great if he would still be able to, keep making a living off of doing what he loves. But seriously, I'm just glad that we never have to hear Corey Graves talk about how great Bullfit is again.
Yeah, really. And nice to know that Champa got that win, on
Yeah,
Bull
and that
Dempsey's
too.
way out.
Yeah, Champa definitely got a little bit of momentum out of this, and I appreciate that.
All right, moving on. My honorary high spot is Corey Graves. Happy belated birthday, Corey Graves. Amazing guy.
So why is he your high spot?
Honorary high spot.
Why is he your honorary high spot?
Just wanted to wish him happy belated birthday, and he's still amazing at what he does. So just figured that'd be a nice little thing. But my legitimate high spot is Nia Jax. I mean, because she is the team. Laid waste to just everybody. Whenever she was the legal woman in the tag match, she dominated. And yeah, you know that sooner or later, she's going to be back in that NXT Women's Championship picture. And yeah, she's just still killing it. So Nia Jax is my high spot.
Yeah. All right. You know what? How about this? I'm gonna go a little bit of a, out of left field kind of thing. My high spot's gonna be PWG.
Okay.
Because we had Tommaso Ciampa win a match tonight. We had Apollo Crews beat another PWG guy in Christopher Gerard. PWG is taking over NXT, and I'm perfectly okay with our new gorilla, overlords.
Indeed. You and me both, and I think everybody. So, with that said, is there anything else you want to say about this episode of NXT?
Absolutely not. I'm good.
All right, guys. This has been NXT. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. Ashton, what question do you have for our subscribers this week?
Well, I think it's a pretty simple one. Who do you think is going to win between Finn and Neville next week? Who do you think is the best NXT champion of all time?
Excellent. Get that conversation started down in the comments. Also, be sure to take that conversation over to Pleetoff. That is Pro Wrestling is taking over Facebook. A lot of diehard NXT fans there. You will be right at home. Also, be sure to like the TWitWoW Facebook page. Get some interaction going there. And also be sure to check out our TWitWoW subreddit that Ashton created. There you will find all of our TWitWoW content. And you, the viewer, are endowed with the power to create on threads on all things related to pro wrestling. That includes NXT. And if you really want to interact with TWitWoW at the ground level, be sure to follow us on Twitter. I am at John_TWitWoW. And Ashton is at apond. That's the letter A and then pond, the body of water, 404. So you can really interact with us there. And we will see you again for our Lucha Underground comic book discussion. Seems like a great issue as it highlights Vampiro and Pentagon. And then after that, for our Thursday night SmackDown review. Should be some good stuff, guys. We will see you then. Until then, tune in and peace out.